Hey, welcome to Indian Cine-MANIACS. What's going on, Maniacs?
Nothing. What's
Hello.
We got so much room, so much space tonight.
Yeah, we're Sean and Debbie could not make it tonight. Sorry,
Auntie
everybody.
and Uncle.
Auntie and Uncle unavailable tonight, but here we are. Stand by. Yeah, so we got an interesting film tonight. Drew will describe it, and then we have one more on and pronounce it. We have one on the wheel called Omkara.
Good job.
Which is the Shakespearean movie. Shakespeare.
Yes, I've been looking forward to that one.
Is it Othello? Mm-hmm. Is that what it is?
Yes, I believe so.
But John has brought up a interesting process we want to try, and it's sad to say he wants to get rid of the wheel, which I have to admit.
No, I didn't say I want to get rid of the wheel.
What did you say?
What I said was, I've been doing these 10-ish minute reviews, and I've been doing a lot of polling, and the engagement seems to be going up. So my suggestion was we bring 5 films where we would normally put them on the wheel. We'll put them in a poll, and we'll let you guys decide the order in which we watch them. So you'll be an active participant in what we watch in the next 5 shows. So it's not eliminating the wheel. It's just trying something a little bit different.
Well, how is it not eliminating the wheel? Explain that to me. Because you said that there's going to be 5.
For 5 movies, for this run of 5 movies, it'll eliminate the wheel. But as soon as them 5 movies are done, we can put the wheel back up.
Okay, so we can determine that after the 5.
Yeah. I mean, if we get 1,000 people responding to the poll, I would say frig the wheel.
I understand, but just so the wheel means a lot to me.
I know that.
You got to take this a little.
Ralph, we could always bring it to the other show that the 80 people watch. We could just keep it there.
The wheel is on the other show, and that's been the thing. So
John, what you want to do is take the wheel on this show and put it in jail for 5 episodes. Is that right?
In a cage.
In a
cage. Sorry.
But we're going to do Omkara first. Then we're going to do Runway 34, and then we'll start your poll. Okay?
We can start the poll. We can start the poll anytime we want.
Right. Start the poll. But I'm going to do Runway 34 in 2 movies.
Okay.
As a concession for giving up the wheel for this next run. Okay? Sound good?
So it's a negotiation.
No, there's no negotiation. I think I made the decision.
That's beautiful. That was beautiful. Okay, so the one thing I just wanted to say, because looking at the data, people aren't sticking around till the end. So this is when we want you guys to subscribe, hit the notification button, and smash that like button. It really does make a difference. I know I keep saying that, but it does make a difference on the algorithm. We get more hits when you guys do that. So
or
on
we
with
just
the show.
maybe the 5 movies are movies that people actually want to have us review. Because I feel like we've dipped a little bit, and I don't know if it's the quality of the films or what. So, or us, it could be us.
We plateauing about
1,000
to 1.2. I think that's about what it's been, right?
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Maybe people are getting bored with us. I doubt it because we're so dynamic.
We are dynamic. Drew, what do we got tonight?
So tonight's movie is a Malayalam thriller drama. It's called Ayyappanum Kozhiyum, which is the names of the 2 main characters, a policeman named Ayyappan, a schmuck named Koshi, who's a rich guy with lots of connections and influence, and the 2 of them clash. And in my opinion, it's a hell of a movie. I really, really enjoyed this one. It's got some real, I thought we were going to go to Straw Dogs or something. I mean, it got really, really intense the way these 2 had a conflict. It was completely believable. And these Malayalam movies, man, I don't know, they're just connecting with me. I really dig them. And I thought, it's 2 hours and 55 minutes, which is one of the longer ones we've had in a while. Didn't care. Totally absorbed by the story, and the ending genuinely surprised me, and it was a good ending. So Ayyappanum Kozhiyum, thank you for recommending it, everybody.
Okay, I don't think I had quite the same reaction, but I'd like to hear everybody else's.
Can you, Drew? Can you give us a brief synopsis?
Sure. So it's set in Kerala, same region as Kumbalangi Nights and some of the other Malayalam films that we've watched. And Koshi is making his way through the forest one evening with alcohol in his car. He's not drinking and driving. He's actually asleep in the back seat, and he gets stopped at a checkpoint because where he's driving through is alcohol free, and he ends up getting arrested, and he ends up getting charged with having alcohol in the car, and he's basically threatening everybody, all these policemen, that basically he has all these people that will help him and he'll destroy them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he ends up actually tricking the other main character, Ayyappan, into helping him, which then he takes a video of, and it looks like corruption. So he cost this man his job. What he doesn't understand is that this stern but quiet and I don't think unpleasant policeman has been a cop for 25 years and used to be quite a bit more frightening. And I always say, just like Sisu and some of the other stuff I've watched recently, it is interesting to see, when you take everything away from somebody, then they really won't have anything to stop them. And that is exactly what this movie is about. And it could have been much more physically violent and much more upsetting, but it was very intense as these men get into a conflict and take it out on each other and endanger each other's families and endanger other people and property. And the movie is really about the conflict between the people who have control in the society in India and elsewhere that have influence and money and connections, and everybody else. And I've never been so chilled by watching someone step out of their flip-flops, that's for sure.
That was a great, okay, out of the scenes, that was pretty good. And he leads the movie. I mean, his character starts the film, and you're going, what's this? I don't understand this thing that happens at the beginning. When did this come out?
It came out in 2020. It won a bunch of the National Film Awards, which are the Oscars. It won, I think it won Best Picture. No, it won Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Ayyappan, Biju Menon, and the Best Singer for Nanjiyama, and Best Stunts. And I would say the stunts were really interesting because they felt like real men grappling. They felt like real fights. Yeah. It wasn't flashy and it wasn't shot in a flashy way.
Well, no, it was shot in a flashy way, but those guys the fight looked like a real fight. I mean,
right. But it wasn't like swooping cameras.
No. But the camera trickery they did in that fight scene was amazing when they're flipping the cameras around.
I gotcha. Yes.
Yeah, the choreography of the balance between the fight and what the camera was doing was quite amazing. But yes, it looked like a legit fight. Right. It wasn't.
It looked like how guys would.
It wasn't quick cut. It wasn't quick cut like you see a lot of the time.
There's a lot of slapping. There's a lot of kicking. This was
again carrying on our tradition of seeing a lot of slapping of men in Indian movies. No kids got slapped in this one, although a wife got slapped and some men got slapped. And also we know it also meets the other standard for having been a successful movie in India because it came out in 2020, and 2 years later the Telugu remake, which I have not seen, Bhimla Nayak, came out. And we've already watched movies like Drishyam, which was a remake of a Malayalam film, both that and the sequel. So when a movie gets remade, that means it found some kind of audience. But to see it win all these big awards, I think was pretty exciting as well. And the director, his name is Sachy. I think it's Sachy or Sachy. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Sachy. He died age 48 of a heart attack not long after the movie came out. And the actor Anil Nedumangad, who was what was his character's name? He was the policeman that was in charge after Ayyappan was removed. So he was sort of trying to keep the peace of things. He was Satish. So many great performances in this movie. He also at age 48 died. Christmas Day 2020, he drowned in an accident. So there's some really incredibly talented people behind it in this movie, and it's the end of them, which is really sad because watching this movie made me want to go and watch the other two movies that the director made because this one really made an impression on me. I really liked it, and I've been digging the Malayalam films already.
Can we spoil this, or do you want to have a spoiler section? I think we can spoil.
Yeah,
right? I think everybody has said don't worry about
spoilers. Spoilers. Look the other way.
I was not as enthused as you, I have to admit, until the end, until the final fight scene, because for me it just kept going and going. It's like, okay, already we got it. You guys are after each other. You both have done bad things to each other. The scenes where buildings are being destroyed by bulldozers look real. That that did not look like, that was not CGI. They tore buildings down. Again, I'm back to the cultural, I'm not quite sure what was going on culturally. I mean, I think I got that the police station was in charge I think they were supposed to start demolishing that section that he ended up demolishing, and maybe he was holding back until he was banished from the force, and he went after that guy that ended up in the scoop that he almost killed in the scoop.
Yeah, who had started working for his enemy Koshi already by then.
And Koshi, you didn't say, is he's like a spoiled rich kid. Basically, his dad protected him, and I guess he had connections with movie directors and stuff. And ultimately, the ending kind of saved it for me because that fight scene, because all the stuff that happened before that fight scene, the demolishing, the brandishing of the guns, some of the things that they were doing to each other, it's like, all right, kill each other already, get it over with. The whole idea of the grasp, I think he was called the grasp or the grip.
The grasp.
Grasp.
Just if they're going to do it, and it ends up that they end up helping each other. And that scene at the very end where he comes to their compound and says, I am the new policeman in charge, and I'm here to shake hands with all the influential people. It felt like that's a sequel, that this is now a story now about those two guys being together. And I was like, okay, pretty cool. But it took forever to get to that point. And even that scene where he blows up his car, right, in that neighborhood. Wouldn't these guys be arrested for all the crap? I mean, wouldn't they be thrown in jail for everything that went on?
I think you're feeling what the filmmaker wants you to feel, but I also think you're feeling what the community feels, which is like, we can't get in the way because then it'll get much worse. Like if we start arresting other people that are connected to the influence, then it's going to become a bigger problem. And both of them had people in their lives that were saying, hey, pull back, hold off.
Yeah.
And they just didn't. And they just kept it just kept escalating and escalating. And so, I think you were living what the community was feeling, which is like, it's just going on. And in theory, it could have gone on another 3 hours. I'm glad that it didn't, for the sake of the movie and the story it was telling. But, it only ended because they decided to end it, and they decided to end it because especially Koshi made very different decisions than the way he behaved at the beginning, which set it all off, because otherwise it would have never happened if he wasn't exercising influence and basically being a jerk. And so I didn't find that it was too much. I found that, you could sort of tell, oh, this is a really bad thing that happened, so the next bad thing that's going to happen could be worse. He knocked down his house in the middle of the night, so he went and blew up his car. But he blew up his car with gunpowder, and he burned down buildings next to the car and all these other things. Like, the violence kept escalating, and it made it more dangerous for everyone around them. And I really liked at the end, that big fight at the end was surrounded by all these people who were watching it. We're like, I am not getting in there, but this clearly needs to happen. And that was really very powerful, I thought. And I
can't
deny it. Just knocking down all those market stalls. Those were hurting people's livelihoods and all this other stuff. And everybody just got out of the way. It just got out of the way of these titans.
I think that's why it was supposed to be this epic, like, mythical thing that was going on. And that the policeman, who's not a policeman at the time, and this is all going on, is a mythical character. He's been set up from the beginning to be this guy who could crush your life out from you, and he almost did twice.
Yeah,
that guy almost. What's his name? Koshi. Yeah, Koshi almost died twice.
And we saw him do that in the opening scene. We didn't know it was him at the time, but we saw him do that.
He had set the whole thing up with that thing at the beginning. Anyway, so I just. For me, it's one of these where culturally I couldn't quite get my hands wrapped around it, and then the length of the film and just the over dramatic. They keep doing it over and over and over. Just get to it. They should have got to that fight maybe an hour earlier than they did. But I know they have to show all the pressure everybody's under and the feeling of, I have nothing left to lose, so I just don't care anymore. At least that's the policeman's attitude. The other guy, I don't quite get the motivations of Koshi, except maybe he was rebelling against his father. I don't quite get his motivation.
That's the whole thing. Is the movie is about manhood, and these are two very different expressions of manhood, both of which you can have very strong opinions about as a viewer. I think that Ayyappan is probably a healthier, more noble place to start than Koshi, who's basically an insecure child who's lashing out because you told me what to do and I don't have to listen to you, whereas Ayyappan was just doing his job. And it's basically two men who are too proud to give up from different places. Yeah. So we've watched a number of these movies that have had interesting things to say and things that look at how what masculinity is in India and in Indian movies and what that looks like. And we've talked a lot about how, these movies have much more expression of emotion, of men feeling affection and crying. And I mean, the RRR again was the big example. I mean, there's two lead men who are these hero characters, and they cry a lot in this movie. And it's
and they're not afraid to show shame.
And they're not afraid. Yeah, they're not afraid to do that, and they're not afraid to own their mistakes, all that kind of stuff. And these two guys actually weren't owning their shit, really. I mean, Koshi was not going to give up. He was not going to apologize, even when he knew he was wrong. And people around him, like his driver, loved him.
Yeah.
His driver loved him and didn't want him to get hurt, but also knew, I can't stop this.
And there was a point where the driver had a little shit-eating grin. There was something happened. Somebody did something to Koshi.
Yeah.
That the driver had a little smile. Yeah. I think it was the wife. I think it's when the guy's wife went after him.
She was awesome.
And dressed him down. She was great. Yeah. His the woman he ended up marrying when he was supposed to arrest her and all that.
What did she say? You should go kill your mother so she doesn't have to die from embarrassment. I was like, wow.
She was brutal. Woo. She was great. I liked her a lot.
Yeah,
her kid was a little funky. I couldn't quite get on.
Oh, he was sweet.
He was sweet, but there was something with the I don't know. I couldn't figure that out. John and Chris, jump in here, please.
Chris?
Well, I really enjoyed this movie.
Wow,
I don't know what it is about the Malayalam films, but I really dig them. I don't know if it's because they're a little more grounded or whatnot, but I really do dig them. I will say this. I remember that scene you're talking about, John, where the wife comes in and she's basically like, she just dresses this guy down. And then, the policeman or the ex-policeman shows up. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
He's basically like, what does he say? He's basically like, hey, you can't even handle my wife. How do you think you're going to handle me, essentially? And then there's a couple of just great scenes where he's just wrecking shop on dudes. I really enjoyed this movie, partially, I think, because it was kind of like a, it's kind of a traditional, you've got a guy with a lot of power who, thinks he's a tough guy and all this. And he really is, he is, but he meets a tougher guy, like kind of that salt of the earth. Like, he's older, he's got a big belly, he's not in as good a shape, but don't let that fool you, because he'll just crush the life out of you. I really liked the characters in this film. I liked both of the wives. I thought Ruby, I think was her name.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I thought she was a great wife too. If I have any criticism of this film, I was not as thrilled with like the very end where they kind of like come to a grudging respect of one another. I really just wanted to see him like not necessarily kill the dude, but like just leave him in the mud completely defeated. I was going for that personally. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. And you know what I also liked was I love that opening scene when the guy's driving through the forest and, it's just a way they just create tension. Cause like, I wasn't really sure what was going on then because he's talking about the forest, but just the way the guy reaches out and touches the cross hanging from his rear view mirror, that he's super nervous about what he's doing. This is the driver, right? And I just thought, I love that sequence. He just touches it. And, it's one of those things where, you talked about guys that can't let things go and how it's just, he's literally on the phone with his boss and they're packing up the stop, the checkpoint, or whatever, or basically the checkpoint where they're checking every car that comes through. They're packing it up. And if that guy's 5 minutes later, none of this happens.
Right.
Because they will have packed up and gone home and they're like, it's one more guy. Let's check it out. And, they don't even really notice him. They open the door, he rolls out and then it just spirals from there. And you're right. And it's like, one part of me was like, the guy's holding his phone. I'm like, do you not realize he's recording you? I mean,
when he was pouring the alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. When he's pouring the alcohol in there and you're just like, everything about Koshi was so, at least, especially in the beginning of the film, was so, just scuzzy and reprehensible. Like, here's this guy, he's literally trying to help you out a little bit, like, taking the edge off your situation. And what do? You're going to stab him in the back. So I was really, I almost wanted it to be a little more black and white, which is not usually what I like, but I thought it would have been a little bit, I really kind of wanted to see the what do you call it? The ass kicking come down.
Yeah, but they set this well, they set it up because he's so good looking, and you expect Koshi was going to be the hero of this story somehow until everything started going down. Because when you first see him, you're like, okay, he's kicking everybody's ass, and then they turned him into what he is, which was a sniveling, insecure.
Yeah, he's a petulant child. Yeah,
right. And ultimately, there are no heroes in this one because the other guy, I guess he's the hero because he stuck to his principles, right? But he was destroying a lot of lives too. I mean,
yeah, I don't think he was the hero. I think, I was ready for the ending that you were just talking about, Chris, that you would have liked to have seen. But the ending is, I think it's the right ending because it's about these two men decided to grow up. And like they realize that their actions have consequences well beyond them. And at some point, people that you do love and that care about you keep telling you, stop. And this is why you need to stop. I mean, I think the scene where he's lost his job and he goes home, Ayyappan, and he sits down next to his wife, and they basically are like, well, we never listened to each other. And she goes, yeah, I know, but don't spare him. And it's like, all right, well, at a certain point, she was more ruthless than him in a sense. But at the end, Koshi made a decision that was a grown-up, real decision that fortunately he was able to make work, which is, hey, I caused all this. I made all this happen. I was a drunk. I was making dumb decisions. Please don't take everything away from this guy. And then at the end, Ayyappan was ready to kill him. And then his friends, these policemen, basically said, you can get your life back. Just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Well, they also implied that he used his contacts to get him back in the position that he had at the end.
Exactly. Yes. So exactly. He used influence for good.
Yeah, that's right.
When did that happen in the film? I didn't see that.
They mentioned it.
I know.
Well, we saw him go talk to the VJ. That's I don't remember, a prosecutor or something, and that's when he's kind of saying to the guy, he's only in that one scene, and he's sitting there and he's saying like, I was drunk and I was making foolish decisions, and this guy doesn't he literally put himself in there as like, I was a jerk and I did this really bad thing, and this guy doesn't deserve it because he was helping me out, and that's all true. We saw it happen.
Yeah.
Except now I think he believes it, and it will save his life.
Well, his father ended up bringing the video into whoever it had to go. Right at some point, he didn't want that video to be shown to anybody.
Yeah, no, his father took over and
his father took that
pushed
whole
it
thing
forward.
Over. Right.
Yeah. Because my son is shaming me, I'm not going to let this guy shame my son.
Right.
So his father pulled those triggers, which tells you, if your influence is your father, you have no more independence than anyone else at the end of the day. Yeah. It's great. Did you like it, John?
I did. I it's weird. I have a different take than you guys, but I did like this movie a lot. It was, it's like all these films, they're very grounded. I thought the two lead performances were great. My criticism of it is I felt it was too long, that the escalation, I was like, okay, I get it. They're going to keep one-upping each other. It's going to keep going and going and going. I wanted to see the final confrontation. I think they could have cut out 20 minutes of this movie and it would have been fine. And the other problem I had was there's no way this police officer is going to sit there with the alcohol with that guy holding the phone at the desk straight up and not know that he was recording him. To me, that was just too unbelievable. But my take on it's a little bit different because I think they're both. I don't think they're to Ralph's point. I don't think they're either one of them are good guys. Look, the young guy, he's petulant and all this stuff, right? He's passed out in the back and gets thrown out of the car. Okay, that's his first interaction with the police.
He falls out of the car.
He hasn't done anything.
He got pulled out.
He got pulled out and on the floor.
They open the door and he falls out.
Then they roust him, right? They roust him a bit. But they don't start changing their tune with him and being nicer to him till they go through his phone contact list. He wasn't throwing out that he had all these contacts. They looked at the phone and all of a sudden, now we're going to try to be nicer to him. Well, now at this point, he's pissed off about it and he knows that's the only reason why they're doing it. So he blackmails the guy thinking he's going to get him in trouble. He had no idea the repercussions because he didn't know he was dealing with. Right. So I get that. So now it gets escalated. And then at one point he realizes, this has gone too far. I need to pull back on this. And that's when the father reads him the riot act. Now it gets ramped up again. And then that when he's meeting with whoever it was, the lawyer, whoever it was, he's ready to use all his contacts to get this guy back on the force. And now that other guy's at his house pulling the gun from the father, using it on the family. So now it got ramped up even more. That's why I don't look at either one of these as good guys. This to me is egos, escalation. And So that's why, to me, I really like the ending, because this went way too far. We were both in the wrong, because and again, the performances were so good. The guy, the cop there, his facial expression in this movie was like the Terminator, you know?
Yeah.
And
It was
that
like the
one scene
hangdog
in the
Terminator,
courtyard when he beats up all those guys that Yoshi didn't know anything about. You know, he
Koshi
didn't know
Koshi didn't know those were his father's
didn't know
goons.
they were
That's
there.
right.
So that ramped it up even more. So I did really like this. I just thought, and again, I'm used to the long movies, so it wasn't like, well, it's just long, so that's why I had a problem. No, I just felt like it just kept going and going and going, and unnecessarily, in my opinion, it was just too long. But it didn't affect my enjoyment of the film. I really did enjoy it because it was so different from movies that we've seen before, and I really liked the performances. I thought it was excellent. And again, going back to the fight scenes, it's like, when you think about, if you really, and I've never been in a fight in my life, okay, but if you were going to be in a fight, it's not going to be this choreographed, beautifully punched and kicked thing. It's going to be two guys trying to slug it out and grab at each other, and trying to flip each other.
Right.
I like that in this movie. That it was a very real. To me, it looked like a very realistic fight. So I think out of all the Malayalam films I've seen, I think this is probably the one that I like the best out of them all. And I think the two performances really. Now, this is a cultural thing, and I know I'll take hits for this, but the thing with what's the pants that they wear? What is that called, dude? Do you know what those are called?
I think it's the dhoti. It's a kind of sarong.
That was just driving me nuts. Every time they would walk 2 feet, they'd pull it up and tie it, and they just kept doing that over and over again. That just, I don't know what it was. There's something about that. It was like someone adjusting their tie every 5 minutes. It just bugged me. But I guess that's just what they do.
But
it's very hot, so
I know
that. But is there a reason for? Is it literally just fixing your tie? Are they literally just fixing?
That's what. I think.
Or is there a reason why they do that when they're doing it?
It's got to be movement. It's when it's pulled up like that. It's easier for.
Okay, let me ask you. So
that's how I read it, John.
Yeah. They do this big thing at the start of that fight where he pulls something down a rope and he ties a rope around his waist.
Right.
What was the purpose?
Like a weightlifting belt. If he put him in the grasp. That's
what would that
was
do?
For.
It would protect
to tighten up his stomach muscles, because apparently the grasp somehow
it collapses the ribs into your heart.
That's what I took that as, like a weightlifting belt.
Okay, so that was just
something like if you use a weightlifting belt properly, people think like, oh, I'm supporting my back, and you are, but not because you have a belt on. You're supposed to take a breath and brace against it. So I think that makes sense that he was bracing against some tension. So if this guy got a hold of him, which he knew he was going to get a hold of him, he might have a shot. And when they described it, like if you get in his grasp, he will literally drive your bones into your organs or whatever it was. I 100% believed it, and so did Koshi. So
I like when at the end of the fight he goes, "Who told you? Who told you about my grasp?"
Right.
So I mean,
but that made it so much. That second fight was so much more interesting because now you know that he's going to kill him with the grasp, and he's doing everything he can to avoid.
And Drew mentioned that scene where the bulldozer scene where he walks into that village and he walks out of his sandals in bare feet, gets in the bulldozer and does all that. Now, an hour later,
the crap out of him. First, he beat the crap out of him,
and then an hour later, you see him take his sandals off, and you go, "Oh shit, this is about to get real." So
now, do they just have access to heavy machinery that they can just get in and use? They don't need keys or anything. They just walk right in.
Well, he grabbed a key, but he just.
Oh, did he have a key?
I did like how, and again, I agree that neither of these guys are the good guy. If you're going to pick one who I think is worse, it's Koshi because he started it, and because you're supposed to watch this movie and say maybe people exercising influence like this to the detriment of people who don't have it is bad, and I'm on board with that. That's fine. But there were a number of scenes where there were a bunch of people from the village who were like, let's get over there and see what's going on because they're not going to mess with our guy. Which is what can happen if you're a police officer in a small community for 25 years and people trust you and people care about you. But also, as we found out later in the movie, these people also knew who he really was, and who he had been, and how dangerous it could be. And I know that whatever part of them was like, he could grasp and kill this rich guy's son, was also he could damage our lives, which he did. I mean, like when I was waiting for the car to blow up after he put the gunpowder, I was like, isn't he going to blow up the tea stand? Like, that guy doesn't deserve that, but that's part of what it is. It just, your anger, it spreads beyond your target.
Well, the
But that
monster's
movie
loose.
nailed it.
The
That
monster's
scene,
loose.
that
Right.
scene like I even felt a little sympathy for Koshi at one point when he had to walk that whole way, and then they had that scene on the motorcycle with
Oh,
the knife, and
That was
then
great.
he walks to the hotel but can't get a room.
Yeah, it was great.
You know, and you're like, the poor guy, he's got no money. He goes, well, I did this in the army. I can sleep here all day,
Right.
you know? So you did feel a little sympathy for him. But obviously the
But
cop
that's
was-
because he was stubborn. He wouldn't take the ride to take him into the town. Everything he did
Right.
was because he was just a stubborn, spoiled kid.
which
Yeah.
yeah, well,
I can't be wrong. I can't be wrong. I can't
Right.
be, it's so annoying.
My favorite thing about that motorcycle, it's such a simple little thing he did, but when he gets on the back of the motorcycle and the guy revs it and you see him slip in the back and grab his shoulders and he goes, "Don't touch me."
yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
now he's
great.
gonna figure out how to stay on the bike without falling.
Yeah. That was
Then
great.
he got that knife and
Yeah.
turned the
I
table.
mean, there's so many
He didn't turn the tables though because
Well-
Ayyappan didn't care.
didn't
Right.
care.
well,
Didn't care.
he didn't know that though.
Listen,
Well,
that
that's true.
guy
He
was
couldn't see
ready
his
to give
face.
up his.
Right.
He's ready to give up his family, go to jail. He gave up. His wife was even like, "Look, we're gonna
Right.
go. I'll be fine without you. I'll take care of this child. I'll get him to school. I'll do whatever. Do what you have to do." And
Right.
you know, it's the motivations. Like at some point, and again, it's a movie. I shouldn't even do this. It's a film. You know, we suspend disbelief all the time. I kind of liked the end. Got me back in. The fight scene was so good.
Yeah.
That it did,
I
and
felt the
the
same way.
sandal thing where he gets out of the sandals in that last fight scene, I was like, okay, game is on. This is going to be great. And the
Choreography.
thank you, of that fight scene was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so well done.
Brilliant. And those two guys look like they were legitimately beating the shit out of
Yeah.
each other.
It's
But
funny.
look, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's not controversial or anything, but the Oscars, the Academy Awards, don't have a category for stunts, and this movie won the equivalent at the National Film Awards for stunt choreography, because that sort of thing deserves recognition and deserves an award. And I am certain there were bigger movies in 2020 that had big action scenes that could have been very good, but this was real.
But if you
You
read
look
all
at
the
the way-
reviews, all the
Amazing.
reviews mentioned the fights. And
Well,
how real-
Yeah, it's
also,
great.
even the
It's
building
great.
collapse. You watch a movie like Superman, this Man of Steel, any movies where buildings are being destroyed, Transformer films, all this stuff. You know it's all fake CGI crap.
Right.
When they were collapsing these buildings, they were collapsing real buildings. Those were buildings that were being collapsed at the end of that. You know, one's over the valley there, and then when he goes 3 a.m. and destroys the other guy's house. I mean, those were real buildings. Those were real
Lethal
bricks
Weapon
being.
2, they did that. The house on the stilts was real. They did
The
that
what?
real. Lethal Weapon 2 was
Oh, that
real.
was real with the pickup
They
truck.
pulled it
when
down
he
the mountain.
Pulled it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was.
Well, you know, I mean, it's the exact opposite of what we saw. I think it was, was it Doom 3 or Doom 2? I think maybe it was Doom 3 where AJ and Abhishek drive like the rickshaw through the brick walls,
Yeah.
all that kind of like that was
Yeah, that was
destruction of buildings. That was just, I mean, it wasn't supposed to be serious, but it was just so silly, and this felt so real, like you said. It really stuck with me. So
I just kept hearing Will Ferrell from Anchorman. Boy, that really escalated quickly.
yeah,
That really got
It
out
sure
of
did.
control.
So this is something I real quick, because I mean I think we got everybody's thoughts and stuff on this film, but I did want to ask our viewers something, because okay, I'm a motorcycle guy, right? And something I've noticed about the Malayalam films that I haven't noticed about other films is in almost every single one of these films, there is a motorcycle that shows up. It's called a Royal Enfield, right? Royal Enfield was a British brand that went out of business in Great Britain decades and decades ago, but it's been made in India for years and years and years. It's very popular there, or at least relatively. It's called the Royal Enfield. The number one model is the Bullet. It's that old kind of, in all of these Malayalam films, you've seen a guy kind of riding around on what looks like just kind of a standard looking motorcycle. You know, no fairings, no plastic pieces, no real slickness, but just like an honest to God, go to work every day kind of bike. And if anybody can help me out here, it's kind of
Are you looking for one?
Oh, I would love to own one. I would
they
love.
sell them in Baltimore.
Well, I mean,
You can get one.
there are Enfield dealerships in the United States, but is there? Just help me out here, man. Is there some viewers? Is there some reason why they keep showing up in these particular kind of films? Like, are they made in that region? Is it just more popular there, or is there some connection? Because maybe it's just that I've noticed them more. in these movies. Maybe they've been.
I mean, is it a case
I just
of
haven't
like
noticed.
you go to Cuba and Cuba has all these old American stuff
Mhm.
left? Is it just a case of these motorcycles are just left behind or something, or what's the?
No, I mean they look like new
Yeah.
motorcycles, like newly made motorcycles, even though they're made in a very traditional way. Sorry to get off topic from the movies, but it's just something I've noticed each time, and I'm always like, is there some kind of connection
Chris,
between?
you should have said that at the
region-
beginning because nobody's watching at this point.
It's who knows? You never
Maybe
know.
I'll put something in the write-up.
I was
Yeah,
going to say,
put something to write.
do a 10-minute review of motorcycles in Indian movies, the two of you, and I guarantee you will get 1,000 views.
No, when we
Yeah,
do
the
the
word.
breakdowns of weird things happen, I'll put Chris has a question.
Yeah,
about
well, I'll put
motorcycles.
that in the
Yeah.
contents. Chris's question about motorcycles.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Nice.
I got it.
But yeah, and the other thing is, I got to know this too. In all of these movies, despite where they're coming from, there's a lot of slapping. There's a lot of guys getting slapped by other guys. Is there like an additional level of disrespect instead of just punching a dude? When
Of
you
course.
slap him. Like, is that part of it as well?
That's what I think it is.
I mean, that's
I think
what
that's
get.
true
That's the
everywhere.
vibe I get.
Bitch-
I get
bitch
that
slapping.
same vibe
You're
here
bitch
in
slapping
the United
somebody.
You
States.
slap
Didn't-
somebody like they're your kid, or for
Yeah.
some people, like it's a woman. And
they
I think
slapped
that's
a
supposed to
woman,
be
didn't they?
more humiliating.
Well, didn't-
yes,
yeah,
he did,
they
but it's supposed to
belted
be
a
more
woman.
humiliating.
Yeah.
Didn't the
Yeah.
cop's wife slap somebody in this one too? Did I dream that, or did she hit somebody?
Did
I
you
think
drop
she-
lid during this movie, Ralph?
No,
That
I
I
did
don't
not.
remember.
I watched this one straight through.
Nice.
I
job.
did. I still think I missed stuff because it's.
Well, because you had a long drive and you had to look at the road sometimes.
No,
and
I
get
watched
that.
this.
I get that. I'm not.
No,
Fine.
I did watch half on the bus.
No, I will say
You
this,
watched it on your phone.
Half,
Oh
only
my
half.
God.
40
Ralph,
45
Cine-Maniacs
minutes.
Do not watch.
Listen, I have a
films
lot
on
of work.
phones.
I got a lot of things I'm
Oh
doing,
my
and I
God.
gotta watch when I can.
Yeah.
Oy.
What'd you watch?
Oy.
3-hour. I watch a 3-hour TV show. I don't have time to watch this.
I think part of the problem I have is to the language, the subtitles. I say this all the time. I just feel like the subtitles. Well, these were going quick, but I don't think they're.
Well, plus
they're
for
so
you, they're
simplified.
very small. They were very,
Yeah.
very small on the bus, so that makes it hard.
That's
to
true.
No, that's I can.
That
The
is true.
subtitles
That'd
are
be tough to
perfectly
read
readable.
on a phone.
They're
I didn't have
perfectly
any
readable.
problem. I didn't have any problem. I have so far. I haven't had any problem with the subtitles. I thought I would, but
Yeah,
no
same
problem at all.
same here.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, and maybe this is just me, but it feels to me like the Malayalam dialect maybe is spoken faster because I feel like these subtitles in these movies, there are times when I have to stop and click
Yeah,
back.
they fly by.
I feel like they fly by faster than in any other of the regional films we've seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like they're going by.
Well, maybe you would prefer the 2021 West Side Story approach, where some languages just aren't subtitled, and then it would be less.
Well,
stressful.
luckily there's a character there that says, "What'd she just say? Tell me," and they speak it
Talk
again.
about that in a
So-
little bit, Drew.
Right?
If
Yeah,
you
you
want,
get
yeah,
that.
we can
That
talk
one's
about
coming. Yeah, the act. So I watched this, and all of a sudden, in my queue, all these movies came up with the main actor, the guy,
Yeah.
the young guy with the beard.
Yeah.
Kept popping up. I think we seen him in anything else, or is this the only one we've seen him in?
Let's
'Cause he
see. Oh, I
seems
know that
very familiar. He was. I thought he was charismatic. He was very good.
Yeah.
the guy who I mentioned who died, Satish, he played a cop in Naya 2. And
Wasn't
Let's
wasn't
see,
the main
Prithviraj
guy in this one? Wasn't he the older policeman in the other Malayalam film about the three cops on the run? Was
Who's
he
the
Might have
lead?
been. The guy who
Not the
committed
lead.
suicide.
Not
The
the
one
lead,
who
the
committed
guy who committed
suicide.
No.
he-
The partner of the female policeman. Remember the one who's like at the very end, he's basically telling her, "Don't do this. I've been around." You know, he's on. We were even talking about how he and the guy who eventually commits suicide are so physically similar.
Yeah.
I know it's not the same guy. He's not one of the leads, but I almost could swear he was the other guy, like the partner of the female officer that was tracking them down. That were getting all the pressure from above, which kind of feeds into a lot of these stories from this area. I will say.
I
At least
love the idea too
I've
of
never seen.
the khaki. They kept talking about the khaki.
Yeah.
Stay in the khaki. The khaki's proud. You know how.
Well, I
how
had to
proud
look up what an FIR was, because everything was, did you file the FIR? Did you do the FIR? And that I learned is a first information report. So basically, you don't have a crime until somebody fills
Right.
out a first information report. So I understood its role in the plot, but that is the kind of thing, like an APB or something. Everybody in India would know what that meant and would know what it meant in the process. So when they've knocked down houses and blown up cars, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't have a complaint." Oh, I don't
Well,
have a complaint either.
I thought
Yeah.
that was like what other movie does this where when even West Side Story, when the cops come, all this fighting's going on, the cops come and everybody goes,
Mhm.
I didn't see anything, I don't know what
Yeah.
happened. They protect each
Yeah.
other, and
Yeah.
that's
Who
what
stuck
these two
that
were doing
nail
as
in
well.
your ear? Oh, that's the remake. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's not the original.
But okay, so anything else before I hit the button?
The one that people love.
What?
Hit
They
that
love this.
button.
We
It's so
got rid of the
Desi.
wheel. We got rid of the wheel. We're not getting rid of
We didn't get rid of the
Zooby-Doo?
wheel yet.
or Zuby don't. Well, I think we're heading toward getting rid of the wheel.
Well, if they want the wheel, we have a whole other show. They can come and wheel it.
Let me start because I think I'm the only one that's going to be like in the middle. I'm in the
You'll be
in the meh. I did it saved itself at the end because I thought that fight scene was just amazing, and the walking out of the sandals. I don't know. Did he do that in the very first scene we saw? Did he walk out of the sandals, or did he just grab the guy and lift him? I forget. I don't think he did. I think.
Oh,
that was-
you mean the very opening scene
The
when we didn't
opening.
even know it was him yet?
We
I
didn't know it
honestly
was
I don't
him at that
remember,
point.
but it's
Yeah.
worth taking a look. I'm not sure.
Okay. But that when he walks out of the sandals, I just thought that was
Yeah, it's great.
terrific. And you guys are all
I'm a
Zuby.
Zooby-Doo. I told you what my criticisms were, but I liked it.
Yeah, it was excellent. Yeah.
All right.
It was a much better Indian movie weekend than the last weekend where I watched all 3 Doom movies. I thought this was a better experience for me personally.
You know, when we first started doing this, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna have to watch Indian films." And now I'm like, I want to see what's next. I am really
Yeah,
enjoying.
you can't watch them fast enough. It's great stuff.
Well, there is a lot, so that's part of the frustration we have, which is there's no way we're going to catch up. I think John and I were going to do a 70s or some old. What's the older film we're going to do?
Sholay.
Sholay.
Yeah, I'm dying to watch that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is Once Upon a Time in the West. It's like a tribute to it. It's really good.
So, you know, it's fascinating. We need more Tubi, what's her name?
Taboo.
Taboo. We need more with her in there and some of those other ones. Like I like the ones the super deluxe. That's my vibe. Although I did
Yeah,
like
it's great.
the Malayalam film we just watched with the family in the house.
Kumbalangi Nights.
I love that one.
That was
this
beautiful.
This one, you know, like I said, I'm half there, but it got me at the end. So, and those guys were very charismatic, both of them. So,
Well, for me, though, this whole thing is what I'm most amazed about is how many Indian films there are. I mean, when you
So
think
many
about
more
it-
than American
Well,
movies
that's what I
every
mean.
year.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I never. RRR was the first one I ever saw, and then as we've been doing this, you start going in the queues now because on Netflix, like I'm getting
Yeah.
hit up, and some of them I'm interested in, some I'm not, but it's pretty amazing. And even like I'm getting people to watch some of these films that normally would never watch them, and
Mhm.
it's hit or miss. I mean, I'm not going to lie, but a lot of people, ones that I really connected with, they've also connected with, and that's kind of cool. Even Seven Samurai, which we watched on the other show, that's a movie I knew all about but never saw, and I'm so glad I saw it.
Yeah.
And I think because I've seen so many of these Indian films, it made me more likely to watch that one where maybe I wouldn't have.
and frankly, it makes us better people.
You know what? Maybe I don't know if that makes us.
Well,
better
look, I mean, we are going
Except for
to,
the wheel.
right?
Yeah.
Well, we are going to start, Korean Cine-MANIACS and Japanese Cine-MANIACS.
We will franchise this.
There's
Definitely
all
we
those
will
countries in
franchise
Europe.
it.
It's a whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Czechoslovakia.
Like Law and Order, Czechoslovakian.
But
yeah.
do they have a rabid fan base like the Indian audience? I don't know.
Some of
All
them
right.
do.
Well, we'll see. All right. So next
Anyway.
week we're going to do Omkara.
Yes, that was the
Which
last
is-
one on the wheel.
Yeah,
Everybody.
which is
Last one on the wheel, and the one after
Shakespeare's
that will
Othello.
be. I keep saying this, but Runaway 34,
Right.
and then we'll do the poll.
The
John,
winner of the
start-
poll.
Set up the poll. How
Right.
now? Where do the movies that come from the poll come from?
I think everybody in the group should bring a movie.
yeah, each one of us. That was a
Put that in the
suggestion. I
poll.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll pick a movie. You pick a movie. Everybody picks a movie.
Yeah. I know
And
what
we'll
I
have
bring.
Sean and Debbie pick one movie.
I see. So
Because
so
they're not-
that list
they're not
goes
all-
out, and then all they're picking is the order of that list.
That's right.
Right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you want to watch that one first, then you can vote for that. But we are going to watch all of them. So everybody calm down.
That's the point. Yeah, and I hope there's a Doom 4.
well,
Well,
again,
there's a trailer for
they
that.
made a
but it's
trailer,
fake.
so I'm sure it's coming.
There is
It's fake trailer.
We got
And that
Stank
movie
on
looked
it, too,
great. That
I
Doom
know.
4 looked fantastic.
with Shah Rukh Khan and Amir Khan in it.
All right.
Very nice.
All right, guys. So have a good week. Hopefully,
Yes, sir.
Debbie and Sean will be back next week.
Yep.
Yes.
Auntie and Auntie.
We'll tell them what the film is. Sean will be delighted. He's been waiting for this film the whole time. So
Did you just
Sean's
say
not gonna be
auntie?
back next
Did
week,
you
I'll
say-
wear the turban. I don't care.
Did you just say auntie and auntie?
Auntie and is that what I
Is
said?
that
I
is
might
that
have
an
said that.
operation?
Uncle
that
and
happened?
auntie. Yeah, I might have said that
okay.
too. I might have said that. Can you
That's
fix that in
horrible.
post, Ralph?
no.
Oh,
All
it doesn't
right.
matter. Nobody's watching it.
Yeah, nobody's at this point because why even subscribe or hit the like button?
We
Why
did
do
that
Well, that's
already.
why
We got it.
already mentioned it twice.
Nailed
All right.
it.
All right.
All right. See you, everybody.
All right, have a good
Hey,
week.
guys.
Bye, everyone.